Okay, now we want to talk about the colors of visible light. So we're going to be talking about the Roy G. Biv thing. So we're going to be talking about red light, orange light, yellow light, green light, blue light, violet light. And we want to know what's going to happen when you mix these colors together. So before I start talking about it, I'd like for you to watch a couple of videos. So we've got the video Discovery YAFI Colors of Light, and then there's another one called Color Theory Lesson by Ethan Avery. So watch those two videos if you can find them. Okay, did you do it? All right. So let's see what happens when you mix light colors together. There are three primary light colors. And so those colors are going to be blue, and then green, and then red. So those are the three primary light colors. Now you might be thinking in your head, no, that's not true, because I know from school that it's blue, red, and yellow. Well, that's going to be pigments, and it's still not right. And we'll talk about that in our next segment. So we just want to add a light and see what happens to it. So these are the three primary colors of light. And by adding various combinations of these three colors, you can make any color that you want. So in this picture here, you notice that you've got red light, so I will just abbreviate that with R for red. And then you've got blue light over here. And then you've got green light that is up here. And notice what happens when you mix all three colors together. So in this part right here, you notice it's the color white or nothing. So whenever you mix these three together, you get the color white. And depending on the amount of green that you use, and the amount of red that you use, and the amount of blue that you use, you could make this color in here anything that you want. So if you used a lot of green and not so much red and not so much blue, what do you suppose this would look? It would be a very greenish color. Okay, but what about if you used a lot of green and you used a lot of red, but you didn't use so much blue? What's going to happen? Okay, so in this part right here, where this circle is intersecting this circle, you have the color yellow. So green light, not pigment, green light plus red light makes yellow light. And now you're saying, well, how is that possible? Well, think about the Roy G. Biv thing. So here is green, and then over here is red, and then notice what's in between them. You got your yellow and your orange. So it's not surprising that when you add these two together, you end up with a yellow there. Okay, what happens when you take blue and you add it to red? Okay, what color do you get? So this one here is going to be called magenta. And you can see it's kind of a purplish, reddish color, which is kind of what you'd expect. So if you add red and blue together, you expect to get something purple. So that goes in there. And then finally, if you add green light and blue light together, then you get cyan, which is kind of a greenish, bluish color. Okay, if I said to you on the exam, what would you get if you added, let's say, so what would happen if you took white minus red? What do you get? White minus the color red. What color would that be? All right, now white is a combination of all three of these things put together. And so let's take out the red. So if you take out the red, what are you left with? The green and the blue. And so what happens when you add green and blue? That's this one right here. And so that's going to be that cyan color again. So this is something that if I was to give you this chart on an exam, I would expect you to be able to tell me what kinds of colors would you generate. So these three colors are used in theaters. The lighting for a theater is green lights, blue lights, and red lights. And then depending on which light that they turn up, you would get different combinations of color on the theater stage. Your TV set works the same way. So if you look at the controls on your TV set, you have the color knob. And so if you were to take that color knob and turn it all the way to one side, you might notice that everything turns red. If you take the color knob and you turn it all the way to the other side, everything becomes blue. But when you get those colors balanced, then everything looks normal. All right, so let's take a break. And in our next segment, in our next segment, we're going to talk about pigments.